Okay, I am no fashion or clothing expert. Let's face it. If I was, I wouldn't look this way or dress the way I do. That's a fact. But one thing I do know is form should follow function. And for the type of hunting that I do, the superior choice is wool. So let's look back. 10 years ago, I got really tired of trying to track deer in the cheap box store cotton-based camouflage that everybody wears. I'd get wet and I'd get cold and I'd get borderline hypothermic all the time. And it would take away from my concentration, it would wane, and I would lose interest and just wander. My mind wouldn't be concentrating on the task at hand. That's when I was reminded that my grandfather always wore a wool coat and wool pants while he hunted back in the 50s. And the great Larry Benoit always wrote his praises about tracking with his Johnson wool coat and pants. How was I to deny the counsel of two of the greatest deer hunters that I knew? So then I went out and I purchased my very first Johnson wool coat and pants. And it made a huge difference the next season. I didn't freeze, and even the days that I did get a little wet, I stayed warm. Now, if I had listened to my elders before this, I probably would have shot more big bucks to begin with because I wasn't freezing, and I wouldn't have had such a miserable time through most of those early years. Here's some reasons why wool is superior for tracking and still hunting. It's a natural fiber, so it's virtually silent in the pucker brush and whips. You cannot say that about most modern man-made materials, especially in cold conditions. Wool is animal fur, same as a deer, so when it goes through it, it's virtually silent. 2, it's quite water repellent due to the natural oils in the fabric, known as lanolin. This also acts as scent repellent. Even when it does get wet, wool will retain heat, while cotton and other materials will rob the body of life-giving heat. Remember this time-honored saying, wool warms and cotton kills. And here's another fact. It may not be as important to the hunting aspect of the material, but wool is biodegradable and it's fire resistant. Most man-made materials cannot boast these claims. Alright, let's talk about the Johnson Woolen Mills because they've got a fascinating history. The Johnson Woolen Mills were founded in 1842 under another name by Andrew Dow. Then it was sold to Isaac Pearl, and he changed the name to I.L. Pearl Company, and they made cloth, yarn, and trousers. In 1872, the mill burnt to the ground. Then, in 1905, D.A. Barrows purchased the company and built a brand new mill, forever known as the Johnson Woolen Mills. Their quote was, "making the best wearing trousers in America." Now the famous Jac shirt was introduced in 1930, and in 1963 the factory store was opened. Now that's nearly 2 centuries of the finest wool clothing in the world. That means Johnson has survived the Civil War, World War I, the Great Depression, World War II. It's seen floods, fire, brutal Vermont winters. It's seen transportation go from horse and buggy to the electric car craze. It's seen communications go from the telegraph to the cell technology. But one thing has stayed true: quality and durable wool clothing. Recently, in 2023, Johnson was sold to Gene Richards, who along with his family has brought Johnson back from the brink once again, working to update and improve the brand while retaining its tradition and quality. Just one visit to the factory store in Johnson, Vermont will prove that. So earlier this fall before rifle season, Chris and I took a trip up to Johnson, Vermont. We went up to the factory store. He was in the market for a new shirt jack, and he didn't want to order it online. He wanted to actually go up and try one on. So we made the trip. He found the one he wanted. He got the traditional green plaid with the orange cape on it. He also bought a Stormy Chromer while he was there. Now, one of the things that I was impressed with was the amount of items in the store. They don't just carry shirt jacks and wool pants. They have all kinds of items there. They have darn tough socks and Stormy Chromers and mittens and gloves and all kinds of great stuff that's all pretty much locally made of wool and natural materials. Great items, and I have to say that the people working at the store were extremely helpful Extremely nice. So if you guys have nothing to do on a Saturday, take a trip up to Johnson, Vermont and visit the factory store. It's well worth the trip, and I'm sure you're going to find something there that tickles your fancy. So let's talk about the shirt jack now and why I find it to be a very important part of my attire. Alright guys, let's go over the shirt jack and why I use it for hunting. First and foremost, it's wool. It's going to be silent in the woods. So if I'm getting up on that last 30 yards of a deer and I'm getting up on him in his bed, I don't have to worry about some strange sound coming from a branch scratching across his jacket. It's silent. Alright? That's one of the things I really like about it. The other thing is, while I'm tracking, you're moving constantly, and sometimes you're even running. So you need a jacket that's going to keep you warm when you're not moving as fast, but it's also light enough so you don't get overheated. These shirt jacks are great for that. Underneath this, I'll generally wear a tech fiber silk type shirt, something that will wick away the moisture from my skin, and a button down shirt, a chamois or something like that, something that's not too heavy. That's all you need underneath this. For most people, that's going to keep you warm enough while you're tracking. So when you're tracking, you're moving constantly. You're not stopping, you're not sitting. So these are fairly warm for that. The one behind me, that's a 2XL. That's the old one. That's back when Rob was a little more rotund. Now I'll use that for shed hunting, and I'll put a hoodie or something underneath it just for that little extra layer of warmth. Because I'm not moving as fast, I'm moving much slower when I'm out shed hunting. But because it's wool, the thing I like about it is if it rains or is snowing, that'll keep me warm even if I get wet. And that's another thing about this wool, is it does do that. And when you're tracking, a lot of times you're getting covered in snow, going through all the the blowdowns and all the green growth that's covered in snow, and this will keep you warm even if it gets wet. And I've been soaked to the bone and been warm with these jackets. Now let's talk a little bit about how they're put together and the durability of these jackets. Alright, let's go up here and look at the jacket. Alright, the first thing you're going to notice with one of these jackets is there's a cape on it. It puts a double layer over your shoulders. The nice thing about that is it's that extra layer to keep you a little drier when it is raining or snowing. It helps it run the moisture off too. And the cape also acts as your top of your pockets. These are where you unbutton here. So we'll unbutton this, and you'll see you'll have your breast pockets right here. Those work pretty good. Another thing you'll notice is with these capes is they make an orange cape that comes with these coats. Regardless of what the color jacket is, you can get the solid Loden, I think it's called. This is buffalo plaid. You can get it in red plaid, but you can get them with the safety or the hunter orange capes that are built on them. They're 100% wool. Really nice. The other option is they now make a removable cape that goes over this in the safety orange, which I have one of those. I didn't bring it with me, but it goes on the extra large, the 2XL jacket, because I bought it before I shrunk. Anyways, and what it does is it does button right into your pockets just like this, so it stays attached, and it's a zip up in the front. They're 100% wool. They work really well. That's just another extra layer to keep the water and the snow from soaking into your jacket. The quality on these jackets, as far as the stitching, the zippers, this jacket right here is 8 years old, and it's been through hell. It's been through briar patches. It's been through balsam. It's been through every type of area that you can imagine that you can put a hunting jacket through. Soaking wet, frozen, everything else, and none of the stitching is coming apart. Nothing is frayed. The zipper is still in perfect shape. There's nothing wrong with the zipper. That's a quality material that they're using for all of the build parts for this jacket. The only thing that has come apart on this jacket since I've owned it is I'm missing a button right there. And that was because of me, not because of build quality. I caught it on something and pulled it apart. Pretty easy fix too. But other than that, had I not caught that on a snag and pulled it off because I wasn't paying attention, this coat would be in perfect shape. It's faded a little bit, but this thing's got a lot of miles on it, and it's been a lot of rain and a lot of snow. I'm super happy with the build quality. I call it build quality, but the performance of this jacket is top notch. The pockets, plenty of room. I'll put plenty of stuff in them. I'll run my video camera. I just stick it in the front pocket like this, and I can keep it there all day and have no problems. Good enough for your hands. Keep them warm. It's right there. The only thing I wish I had done is I'd bought the Benoit jacket instead of just the run-of-the-mill one, because they come with a pouch that's back here on the inside of the jacket, so you can put your lunch or whatever else you need in there. That way I could travel a little bit lighter without having a bag. As far as the fit goes, I think that they run a little large to the most part, but that's okay if you want to run want to use one for colder weather. You can put on that extra layer if you want. Even if you're not using it for hunting, these are great jackets. They look good on you when you go out to dinner. To me, this is as good as a tuxedo. So the collars are good, and they do stand up if you need them to. You know, if you get in some windy weather, you got that to pop up like that to keep the rain out of your neck. You'll see I've got some buttons here. That was from an aftermarket vest that I had put on it at the time, but now that they make the new one, I don't need that. Once you buy one of these, even though they're fairly pricey to some people, these will last. The value for these jackets is very high. I think that for the price you pay, you're getting way more value than what you're paying for. And I can't say that for most camouflage clothing. Is a lot of that stuff is made in a way that they want you to have to buy new camo clothing every few years. This stuff is made to last. So in closing, I'm going to give the Johnson coat 2 thumbs up. I've been using them for years. I've put them through their test. They've passed with flying colors. They haven't come apart. There's threading still there. Other than that button, we ain't got any problems. They've kept me warm, they've kept me dry. And they've kept me ready when I get that rifle up and shoot that big buck. Now there's other companies out there that are making jackets that are like this for other outfits. That's fine, that's America. Hey, that's competition. But when it comes down to it, you go with the original. You go with the guy who started the game, right? You don't go to the store wanting an Oreo cookie and buy the store brand, because it doesn't taste the same. It's not an Oreo. Same thing with these coats. You go with the guy who invented it, because they are the best. Johnson coats are durable, they're time tested, they're classic, and they work. So 2 thumbs up, Johnson Shirt Jac. Go out and try one. Get whatever color you want, run it, hunt it. Here we go. So I hope you enjoyed it. Glad you watched, and I hope that I've changed your mind about buying all these fancy camouflage outfits, and you go with the classic. Go with Larry Benoit's favorite, Johnson Wool. Thanks.